Back up. We're back?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we have exited the executive session, and the first item that we discussed was auditing, seeking to purchase some vehicles for the sheriff's department. Is there any further discussion, not auditing, but the sheriff's department purchasing some new vehicles? Sorry.
There's probably going to be more discussion, so do you want to make your motions on the other two that
Do you want to do that
are
first?
going to be easy?
Okay.
And then we can do discussion.
All right, so let's do that then. So the second thing we talked about was Public Works making an exceptional placement. Any further discussion on that?
No. I'd go ahead and make a motion that we approve the exceptional placement with the welder fabricator.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the third thing we talked about was Adam McKinney and the 911 purchasing the Kimport Tower site. Any further discussion on that?
No, I'll make the motion, we go ahead and authorize that purchase of the tower site, Boker or whatever that is, and replace the lease with the existing service.
Okay,
And you want to do that in 26?
maybe, maybe not.
Which is better,
It's one of those things
to
where.
do it in 25 or 26?
Potentially have money this year if you would like to make that purchase now, once he does more research.
Can we give us that option to make that purchase and not definitively do 25 or 26, and that way, whichever suits us better,
Okay.
then we'll go that way, so.
But they need a $5,000 bond right now.
Yeah, so we'll just have to start working
Or
towards
do
the
you need the
paperwork.
bond if we just do the purchase?
No, you,
We need the bond in order to apply for the permit to
Okay.
continue the land usage.
I think we just will move forward with that as necessary.
Okay. Chantel, you got all that? To whittle that down?
Yeah.
All right, any further discussion?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, now, Sheriff's Department and Ms. Clauser.
back to, so, the equipment we discussed purchasing, there's $18,655 plus the new piece of equipment would be just under $47,000. If I round both of those dollar amounts up, it's $66,000 that the sheriff's office would need to make those two vehicle purchases. The generator has come in $108,362 for the actual equipment, $51,000 and change for the install. That adds up to $160,137. If I round that up to $170,000, the generator was budgeted at $300,000. That leaves $130,000 unobligated for that generator. And the ask is, can we use the $66,000 of those dollars to pay for those two pieces of equipment? We do have the option where we got a salvage check for that first piece of equipment that we could open the budget once revenues have been met, but those incur costs of publication and then holding a public hearing, and it just seems like we already are comfortable with the fact that we're going to have funds available. So if we just use that, we won't incur additional costs. With that said, that generator has been ordered, but the delivery date could potentially be October. So we may end up rolling some of that money over anyways, so we will not even spend potentially the $170,000 this year.
So the generator monies come from where?
It'll be the Justice Fund reserves.
It comes out of the Justice Fund for the
Yes.
generator?
Yes.
Okay, it's not out of general funds?
No, it was budgeted in the Justice Fund, so we are just basically asking if we can use those capital
Utilize.
monies for these two vehicles.
That would be my discussion. If it comes out of your funds, no problem.
It does.
If it comes out of general funds, it's a further discussion because we got a lot of other projects that we're in the middle of. And just because we're over on one, I don't,
No, these are already.
that was my concern.
Already budgeted for Justice Fund dollars.
Okay, I have a problem with that.
Good.
Okay, I'll take a motion then.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve using the identified funds for the purchase of these two vehicles.
Okay, we have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, go
Thank
forth, do great things, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Todd?
Todd Mager with Bannock County Juvenile Justice. I'm here requesting signature on a notice of award and grant agreement for the state fiscal year 2026 substance use prevention, treatment, recovery services block grant for primary prevention programs. This is the grant that funds our Families in Action program. For 2026, I put in for 6 cohorts of the Families in Action program. The staff cost is $4,863.24, and then the other budget is the materials, which is $1,797. So I'm requesting a signature.
Any questions?
No,
No.
we've done this once or twice.
Yeah, I think we've done this for 14 years or so now.
I'd go ahead and make a motion that we approve the grant, juvenile justice.
Okay, we have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Matthew?
Scott?
Matthew Phillips, HR and Risk Management Director. I have with me Scott. Both my requests actually are related to the same thing. Every year when we have concerts, we buy additional insurance. In the past, we've bought just individual policies for each individual concert that includes both liquor liability and ancillary coverage that goes above and beyond what our ICRIM policy and work comp policies cover, because usually the concerts require more coverage than we typically carry. However, we have quite a few concerts this year, which is awesome, but we were trying to find a way where we wouldn't have to write 11 individual policies, so we explored whether we could do consolidated policies for just all events. We were able to find that. Mutual Insurance, our agency, was able to find that on the liquor liability side. And in addition, as I've been talking to the ICRIMP underwriter, I think perhaps, I know this will help cover us more on our own events as well, like the 4th of July, horse races, rodeo, where in the past we may not have had as much coverage in the liquor liability category as we thought. So my first request is just the request to sign the liquor liability consolidated policy for those events that will run through October 21st. And we'll probably take that approach in upcoming years, just because we can gather more of our own events in that coverage as well. The individual policies, I was looking at last year, I think that coverage was around $700 each. So it works out to be about the same price, but we were able to cover more events. So I think it's a pretty straightforward decision. So that's the first request before you, is to sign that application for the liquor liability consolidated policy for all our events this year. Or unless you have any questions of me or Scott.
So it really does cover both sides of the house, right? So we have pulled the extra policies for all of our concerts, but we've never pulled them for the horse races. Right. So even from a budgetary standpoint, when we look at how we split where the revenues come from, because we have the two different sides, it's almost like we want to split it kind of down the middle to see, because we are covering both sides of the house with the same policy.
I like that we're covering both sides of the house.
Does that make sense?
Well, I like the annual or the
Yeah.
multiple bill instead of
One time.
the day before the concert. We're trying to get a signature.
That's going to be the next request we talk about. But at least we solved this part of River Liquor this year, and we might be able to get more competing offers next year. So we were able to at least find one carrier that was willing to work with us on that type of approach. So.
All right. Any other-
And Christy made a good point too. This just comes out of the concessions, because that's where all of these things are concessions.
Right.
So they all are revenue generating concessions. So that's
Okay.
where it would come out.
Okay, any questions on that? Any other additional questions?
No.
Okay, I'll take a motion then.
I'll make the motion that we go ahead and agree to cover the master policy for all of the events out of the concession budget.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, so the next one is also related to it. Unfortunately, we were not able to find a consolidated policy for the ancillary coverage.
Okay.
But we'll continue to work on it. I may have another broker that may try to help us out next year. Mutual's still working on it to see if it's a possibility, but where we're getting close to that first start one on June 25th, we need to at least move forward with individual ancillary coverage. So the one I have before you, I think, is the application for the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band concert on June 25th. I think it's below $500, and this is the type of ones that we'll be signing. We were able to get the contract earlier because we can't bind these until we get the contract from Nederlander or the band manager, which sometimes is a last minute deal, right?
Yeah.
So in addition to signing that one, I'm also asking approval for myself or Scott to sign these if we can't get them on agenda before the concert. But if we can, I'm fine to bring them before you if that's how you'd like to proceed. Just, yeah, last year sometimes coordinating with these bands is a week before or a day before type of exercise. So one, we're still looking for coverage on 2 of the concerts. The current carrier did not want to cover the kind of more grungy concert. So we might purchase that coverage.
Grunge,
I don't know how to
grunge, like a
Like grunge rock
genre,
or-
grunge genre.
Yeah. So, but we do have a plan. Nederlander says that we can purchase it through their broker, but since that broker's out of California, those 2 policies might be a little bit more expensive than these ones you see before you now. But
And just in general, like we had a meeting about insurance with Nederlander the other day. I think Jason, when we went down to California and met with them, we had talked about having Nederlander provide the insurance and then adding us as a co-insured, I guess. And they pulled a policy that was expensive, right? Really expensive. It sounds like they might have a way to do it and do it cheaper than the way that we're doing things right now. So it's something maybe that after this concert season, we've talked about meeting and doing a kind of a year in review and having a discussion about some of these points, ticketing, insurance, even marketing, those types of things that we do, to maybe find a better a more cost-effective way for us to do it. Because some of the issues that we are running into, they haven't had the same issues, and so they don't have issues finding people to support rock shows or punk shows. Those are the 2 genres that they're hitting us on right now, is rock and punk, but they do the same thing with some of the grunge style rock. So we may have a solution that is more cost effective for us, and maybe, but I feel like the alcohol policy and getting that done is it takes a lot of the weight off our shoulders. So very grateful for Matthew and all the time and effort he spent to get us cleared out, this way cleared. So.
Well, my only thing would be probably have Matthew sign off on those if we can't get it on the agenda. Again, understanding that would be the exception, not the norm, but I think.
And I would say either one. I don't have a problem with either one of them being able to sign it. I mean, Matthew's gonna be involved, so it'd be good, but if something happens, like I say, when it comes down to you get the concert, or the contract finally, and it's the day of the concert,
Right.
Some of those
I don't
contracts
want you to
are
have to worry about getting a hold of one another, and then we can ratify it afterwards.
I think you guys gave me permission to do that 2 years ago.
Okay.
That you guys gave me permission to sign them and then have you ratify them for the insurance specifically. But some of those things, we just need to write down.
Okay. So, I'm okay then if we add both of them. That makes sense in the interest of getting stuff done, because I know concert days are pretty stressful enough.
Well, it's gonna be different this year with the number of concerts that we have, and a lot of them have 2 different bands and everything else. No,
I do agree with Scott. We've been able to be more proactive this year. I think we'll have several that we'll be able to get you to sign, just in the event that we can't on 1 or 2 of them in time. Yeah, if we could have that approval, that'd be great.
Okay. Ken, you got anything?
There's somebody always willing to insure, but at what cost?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm okay with you guys signing it, because your feet are gonna be held to the fire just like ours, so.
Well, and like, our contract with Nederlander is that, we share in profits, right? Which means we also share in liability. So if they can find us a cheaper solution that covers our, meets our needs as well, I think that's a good way for us to go.
Well, their reputation's on the line here. If they don't do a good job with what they've got coming, then they
Sure.
pay for it dearly.
True.
I'm good with that.
Okay, so I'll take a motion.
Make a motion to go ahead and approve the insurance contract and also add that Matthew and Scott have the ability to sign them in our behalf and then be ratified afterwards.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Elise?
Elise Foster, subdivision planner. I have a subdivision of 6 lots located outside of Pocatello that they have created off of a private road. So they have extended the private road and will continue it as a private road. It is to the gravel standard. It has been inspected and reviewed for construction.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Kyle, gravel road, any concerns with this?
No, we got them to build it to a standard that we passed out.
Okay, you're here, I can ask.
Okay, any further questions?
No.
All right, then I would move that we approve the plat request as for Stewart Ward as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is that it, just the one?
There's a couple pages.
Couple pages. Oh, do you want me to go through each one?
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Al, you're up next.
Good morning, Commission. Hal Jensen, Planning Director.
Tristan Borkwin, Assistant Planning Director.
We are here before you to give you an update on ACI, Area of City Impact Negotiations, as dictated by state statute for renegotiation between counties and all cities within their jurisdiction. Much thanks to Tristan, who has shouldered the majority of this work, if not all of this work. I've been part of the meetings with the cities, but she's done all of the coordination and scheduling of meetings, etc. And I can't thank her enough for taking on that task, because it's been a little bigger than perhaps we anticipated. That said, you have a chart that I believe was enclosed.
I don't have one.
Maybe, maybe not. Just let me walk through with this real quick. An initial email was sent out on the 1st of April, a follow-up email on the 8th of April. Meetings were scheduled with Pocatello the 30th of April, Lava the 2nd of April. Downey, we're still trying to get a meeting. McCammon, 15th of April. Ingham, we've never met with Ingham. We just waited for them to respond back. Aramo, 28th of May. And Chubbuck, the 13th of May. And we have met with all of those respective cities face-to-face and had discussion, except for Ingham and Downey. We have reviewed with county legal a new county ordinance, which is an area of city impact agreement that is going out to each of them to be reviewed so that they know what's coming before them. And I don't know if you received the maps in time or not, but they are substantially smaller. We received a telephone call from the city of Ingham, actually an email, from Ingham, and said, City Council met. We don't anticipate that we have any opportunity for growth within the next 5 years based upon our infrastructure, so our ACI is our city boundary.
So I saw.
Go ahead.
I don't know, I saw that on the map. That's interesting.
The only one that we feel we need to push back on is with the city of Lava.
And that's where I saw that you had the map of their request and ours. We go with ours, plain and simple.
What we basically recommend based upon our interpretation and reading of the statute, as well as applying to what we know for growth. We've been in discussions with Lava more than once about, well, just annex this, just annex this, just annex this. And, you know, they want this, but since I've been here for the last 6 years, as well as Tristan, they've annexed this. So our recommendation is to pull it back to what is more in keeping with the language of the statute.
100%. Downey, I didn't see a map for Downey.
Yeah, we haven't met with Downey yet. I've been in contact with Kedron Criddle. They are meeting this month with their city council to determine how they would like to move forward, and then we will schedule a meeting with them hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So.
And then there wasn't anything for Pocatello.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw.
Yes,
Yeah.
there is a proposal for Pocatello.
Well, I didn't see that.
Downey is
there
the
it is.
only one we don't have right now.
Well, the ACI agreement, but I don't see a map.
Yeah.
Is there a map? Oh.
I did talk to the mayor of Downey, and with their existing infrastructure, I don't think they're gonna add
It's not too bad.
anything onto that. They just don't have it. I think their only concern is west, because of that, what is there, trailer parks, that's where the Higbee Custom Meats was. I think they were just kind of trying to figure out if there was something there, but I think that was the only concern they had, and maybe their city council will have that resolved. So that was the only thing that they even was, and it was legitimate. I don't have a problem with that, so. I didn't have my biggest question with Lava was, do they misunderstand what that, because that one had to do with kind of the west. I get the up out of the KOA campground up above that. That could be a future, expansion, but if they're not ready to annex it, why would we include that in there? I mean, I see the growth where they're headed.
Have you been over lately?
Well, I go over there quite regularly, but I haven't been there lately.
So currently, they are down to single lane traffic on the old highway, and they are extending water and sewer directly east up
past the KOA,
past the KOA.
which they have some RV sites up there that they've been expanding.
That is why they are doing
So,
it.
so are they going to try to annex that
Yes.
in?
Yes.
So I wouldn't have a problem with, if that is, because if they're going to put the infrastructure up there, which I don't know why they
Well,
wouldn't.
It's not necessarily the city of Lava that's putting the water and sewer up, it's the KOA because they're
Right.
moving across the street.
Yes.
So,
But they're
Lava
putting the
will have
infrastructure in up to city code,
that. Correct,
which is what this whole thing is all about anyway.
correct.
But the ground that they had to, I guess it would be the west,
Yes.
following the river down up above where Mark put his, there was a different designation on that map, and I've got it pulled up, but it had to do with either forest or agricultural something. What is their logic with that in Lava? Because I can't imagine them annexing that in there, but maybe does that make sense, what I'm asking?
Are you referring to the resource protection
Yeah.
area?
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna misinterpret that to mean, why would that be inside the city or whatever it is? Are they projecting the area of impact to include that?
That's what they would like, yes.
Boy, I can't even see any logic or reasoning behind that. So that's my pushback on that part of it. You know, a couple of the others, I could see, but not whatever their definition of that is. I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, and that's why we dialed it back to where we
Okay.
had it, because they did have some ongoing conversations with a few developers in the area that we've outlined, as well as agreements with some property owners to annex based on connection. So we felt like that was more reasonable than including that
I agree with your
area.
map, and I think we can just extend, you know, there's nothing saying that this is in stone. If something does happen within 2 years, fine, we can reestablish that area.
Yes.
This isn't cast in stone, but based on the requirement of the state, I liked your map on that. What about Chubbuck, where they are trying to include all of that to the, kind of the northwest? Is there already,
I think that's
there's a lot of
reasonable.
subdivisions out, there's a lot of people out there already. Is that their logic for, are they gonna annex that in? Out past Siphon Road and,
To the northwest?
yeah, north and west?
This area.
Is that their logic that they're gonna annex
Yes,
that?
so that's within their urban service boundary where they've already mapped and already have a fair number of mainline sewer and water. Some of those areas are more densely populated and have smaller subdivisions, and they behave somewhat more like a city. So that is area that they literally will eventually be servicing. That makes sense to us.
And that's kind of what I was,
They lose probably, they're pulling back their current ACI by probably 40%.
okay.
I thought Chubbuck's made good sense.
Yeah, Chubbuck got in, and they,
Our conversations with Chubbuck made very common sense and logic about why they had a justified position for where they set their boundary lines. Same with City of Pocatello.
yeah, I didn't, the other question I had was City of McCammon, and I understand what the original, it was probably, because I was there, a lack of understanding really what the area of impact really was. That's why we just kind of went out that direction. So what they're pulling back to, does that make sense to you, is what they're pulling back to? I know they're putting in new water and sewer lines with that new grant that they got, but I don't,
Yes.
they don't have the existing, they don't have enough existing services to really go very far out of their city limits right now. Their city limits is actually quite large.
It is. Yeah, they
Um,
do have some conversations ongoing with a few developers in those areas. And part of the reason it looks so large is because we went off of parcel boundaries, and a lot of those parcels are large, and you have to
Right.
take the whole parcel if you're taking part of the parcel.
So like all that stuff
So-
on the east side of the freeway.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
parcels.
Well, that's what just, knowing where that's at, that's up on top of that hill.
Yeah.
They would have one heck of a time with providing a lot of services up in there. There was an owner that talked to the city years ago about that, and it just fizzled. It just wasn't there. And that's what, up above the water tower, the access up in there, that's where that pink is, up on that east side. The other I don't have a problem with.
What's their thought process down there by the freeway?
Well, see, that's where that,
Ladder-box.
yeah, and there's one house back in there, you know, that RV park back in there?
Yeah.
That I'm okay with, because actually they are on city infrastructure now. They pump that underneath, so they have got the water and sewer there. But back into those lava rocks,
Yeah. I question that one.
I would question that. I guess the little corner that borders the freeway is all one parcel owner. That's Brad.
Yes.
Brad's got that parcel. I doubt they would ever develop that. They got too many issues with lava rocks and everything else, but I would almost push back to the city limits on that if we were ever to push back, because I can't imagine a developer putting anything out into them lava rocks and surface water. But I don't think it's
Yeah.
it's nothing to
It's
fall on.
reasonable.
Up on the east side is the one that bothers me the most. Trying to go up that, they have so much ground around where
Yeah.
Boyce's shop is or whatever. If they filled that up with homes, they would maximize they don't have the infrastructure even for what they have. So my question of it is, I think they're overstepping or misunderstand what the 5-year program is. Those are just my thoughts
Okay.
towards that, so.
Yeah, that was my only concern, was that east side as well, but
Well, and we can definitely dial that back and send that proposal to them as well. That's,
And I don't have a problem with it because that's where the water tower is.
The water tower is inside the city limits.
And is it right there?
Yeah, isn't that great? Because at one time, the city water tank wasn't even inside city
Okay.
limits. And so that's one reason we did that.
And that's what I'm saying. I thought the water tower was
No.
right here. And so
No, it's down
I'm saying-
where it jogs back.
I wouldn't mind that in my area of city impact. but
Right,
that's
so
the
did
water
we.
tower.
But the pink up on the hill would require some sophisticated roads, water
Yeah.
lines, and I don't think they're gonna do that in 5 years. If some developer comes in and does it, we can relook at the area of impact, but that's my opinion.
but that area for us doesn't really mean anything or do
No, it
anything.
doesn't.
So I don't think it really hurts if we left it as it is.
It doesn't hurt, but it's really not the quote definition of, are they really gonna annex that in?
yeah.
Because if you tried to annex it in, you gotta prove to the landowners that there's a benefit to them to be annexed. And right now, all that is, it used to be Johnny Marley's property clear up in there, but
Yeah, I would
there's,
say most of that stuff on the east side of the highway, probably not, based on what.
yep, if we go with that definition, and if we gotta stay consistent through all of our cities, that to me doesn't qualify. On the south side, I can almost argue the same thing. That's out there where and almost where Boyce Barnes' house is.
Yeah.
They would have a real struggle trying to annex all that in. We talked about it one time. You would have to replace all those people's they're all on wells, they're all on septic systems. If we go to the truest form of the definition, I think they're overreaching on the south end of that too.
Well, it goes back to what Hal said. How many cities have annexed? And what have they annexed in the last
Yeah.
10 years, 20 years?
Right.
I mean, there isn't a whole lot.
And the cost of infrastructure is almost beyond these little cities now. They don't have the growth or the perceived growth. So I think on some of that, I would almost like to pull back to some of that city limits, clear around that whole area. But that's my opinion there. Up by Urban Greens, I get that. That's where the sewer lagoons are, or the wastewater.
I don't know where Urban Green lives.
I don't know whether they would or not.
I do.
She was not.
Up on what they call the town site. South of that, yes, I agree with off of 16th Street. I think I could live with that one, but out where Gary Gunner's place, out in that south end.
You go down where the mayor lives and you turn right and you go
Go down where the Wire Road is.
down where Craig lives.
I would, if you need some help, I'd be glad to talk to Carlene about that. And really, I just worry that one of the councilmen, they like to grow, but we're not against the growth. We just need, it needs to be within the scope of what the state law is.
Same way we treat Lava, we treat McKinney.
Between Lava, and I think Income has done a great job of recognizing the fact that they don't have the infrastructure to go very far either.
They're the ones that should have had out Gilbert's.
Yeah, they've missed that one. So if you need help, I'd be glad to visit with Carlene about that and tell her my opinion about how we're trying to comply. So if you need help there, I'd be glad to.
Okay, we will let you know.
But yeah, I applaud your work. I think most of these maps, I think Pocatello and Chubbuck I think they did a great job of
They did.
pulling in.
I'd like to just ask Tristan to give you an update on where the plan is now and where we move forward and what those target dates look like.
Yeah, so moving forward, our steps right now are to send the proposed ACI maps as well as the draft agreement to every city so that they can see this is what we are proposing after having those meetings and conversations with each of them. And then if any of them have questions or would like to schedule a second meeting, we will do that. I anticipate Lava would probably be the only one who would want a second meeting. After those second meetings are conducted, I think we are ready for public hearings at that point. Part of the packet that we will send them as well, along with the map and agreement, is going to be an approximate cost of notice. Since the statute outlines we provide the notice, but each city pays for their own notices, I just want to give them as much notice as possible of how much that's going to cost each one of them to do that. And so I anticipate maybe by August, maybe early September, we should be holding a public hearing.
And so we could have one public hearing with each of them have their separate times
Yeah.
if we need to be.
Yes.
And then the notices can all be one notice?
So
Or do they have
the
to have
way that-
individual notice?
It'll be individual notices, just so that we can break it down individually for each of them, because the way the journal bills is based off of the word count. So we would just have a 15-minute time slot for Lava, Pocatello, Chubbuck, and they would each have their own separate notice, all within one day with 15, 20-minute increments, whatever we think we need for each one of them. So that way we can bill and notice appropriately.
So just back, you're going to recommend your proposed to Lava.
Correct.
What are you proposing to McCammon?
I am going to plan to dial back based off of our conversations. If you would like, before I send it to
I'd
them,
like
I
to go
can
back
send a
to,
copy.
I'd like to go back to the city limits and let them defend that position
Okay.
why they want to go out.
Okay, perfect,
there-
we can do that.
In my mind, the city limits is more than adequate.
Yes, on south side and east side.
Clear around it.
Clear around.
Yes,
Okay.
because like I say, if you understand all of that, they're defeating the purpose of what we're trying to do is pull back into what it will be annexed within the next 5 years and let them try to defend that, let them defend that position rather than us. That would be my proposed, go right back to the city limits, because all of that is really an overreach. They haven't annexed anything since, well, a lot of years. What makes them think that they're going to annex?
Well, the
All
south
of
end of
that
that
other-
infrastructure, I think, is potential, but everything else.
And that said, going back to urban green, that is one of the topics of conversation, because when urban came to us for permits, as, et cetera, we said that you're on the city boundary line, before we move forward, you have to request annexation, and they denied him annexation.
And,
And
yeah.
he's already attached to water and sewer.
Yep, that goes back a long ways, but anyway.
correct,
But like I
but
say,
that
that
said-
conversation with Urban is what we're talking about. He's not prepared to annex that
No.
property, neither is all the others south of there as well either. So
Okay,
unless there's some, I'd rather pull back to the city limits and let them defend it.
any other questions for us? Any other items we can clarify?
Great work.
Great.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well done.
We'd like to push it for August if we can.
Okay. Do it.
Okay, oh, last question. Did you guys have any questions or concerns with the draft agreement?
I did not.
Okay.
Thought we're good. Good work.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.
We're going to make a slight schedule adjustment. It's 10 o'clock and Mia Kate showed up, and so I'm going to invite Mia Kate to come up and we'll give you 15 minutes to bring us up to date and give us your ask. How's that?
Sounds good. It's June already. The year's half over. It feels like I haven't even hardly seen you. Obviously, Mia K. Kenny, the first CEO of Bannock Development Corporation. Thank you for having me, Commission. Just wanted to go over what we're currently working on that affects the county in a big way. We undertook becoming a area that is working with INL to do a feasibility study. With that feasibility study, we would go through the process to become on a list for not just federal, but all vendors associated with the reactors, and including the sort of mini reactors, not establishing that we would actually have a reactor, but we did put in for that in the area or somewhere within the county. We didn't list an area, but we are on that list. It's a new program. INL is working with a couple other counties, or a couple other areas, I should say, on this, and so it's a breakout program It's super important for us because it gives us a lot of longevity to look for businesses and industry, all kinds of things, without actually having to spend all the time doing the recruiting. So we would be on a list, people would call us, we'd also be actively working that list, but it's a big deal for us and it's a big, huge project. It would break out probably nationally at some point. We're sort of the beta test along with a couple other areas on this. So right now they're trying to figure out how they're going to work the program as far as the school part with Rexburg, and I do believe that that process should move forward in about a month or two, and then after that we'll go full force with our part of it. So really exciting, great for the county, great for all of us, and that's a big project on our list that I'm super excited about. On top of that, we're putting together, I know that the airport sits in Power County, but the airport's super important to all of us. I've stressed this for a long time. It's a big asset for economic development. People realize that there's an airport north of us and there's also airports south of us. But when they're looking for businesses to come here and when they're looking to come here, we always have the conversation about transportation. And because we have such a great airport here, they don't want to go 50 miles north or south. They want to be able to fly in here. And that is a very, very big thing for economic development. So we are putting together a special commission, if you will, to be working on what we're going to do, what our alternatives are to grow our airport and make that happen. We at Bannock Development are bringing a flight school. That flight school has grown into a bigger project, but they are coming, and we're about a week away from having them actually back out here. So that's an important project for all of us and something that's taken a lot of my time and effort. And as you can imagine, when you're dealing with aviation, it's always pretty complicated. So has taken a lot of my time this year. As well, we did a sort of survey with businesses that were looking to move. Last year was a tough year, obviously. Before the election, we sort of were at a standstill with economic development and also with the interest rates, et cetera. So people weren't moving. People aren't necessarily moving now, but we have a lot more interest in specific types of businesses and industries. We currently are, one of our strategic plans is to bring in professional services. We're lacking in professional services by upwards of 20% compared to other areas in our state and other areas in our region. So those particular professional services would be like accountants, engineers, different companies where those employees make over $120,000 a year and have expendable income. We need those jobs in the area, as well as manufacturing and others, warehousing, because we need those incomes to be able to sustain our projects and our economy. So we're working on that as well. And also Commissioner Huff did invite me to work on the initiative in childcare, or to at least sit in on it. And that is a very, very, very important issue with potential businesses coming in. Childcare nationwide is a big thing, and so focus on that is really great for us. It's an asset to be able to sell our area, knowing that we're focused on being able to help those families that want to move here with their childcare. So that and housing, of course, are big issues. So we yearly, and I'm sorry, I've been looking at numbers, but I think yearly we get $75,000 from the county. 70, sorry. And so we're not asking for any more than that. We have a much, much bigger budget this year than we've had because we are project specific. Every project, so that you know, that we take on would be something like the INL. It costs us over $30,000 to do all the work on it. Some of our projects are upwards of $100,000 depending on what they are over the years, so they add up. I know Commissioner Huff sits on our board, so he's our treasurer. He's aware of where that money is going. We do keep a pretty tight ship, but we're able to make it, and we're doing really good work as far as economic development. So that's my...
You never highlighted the airport here in Bannock County.
I didn't.
No, it's down in Downey.
Well, I love that little
That's the only
airport.
airport that's in Bannock County.
There's actually one in Lavin.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
They took it off.
Did they?
Up on top of the hill,
Up on
there's
that
about
little
3
hill.
houses.
You know,
right there.
Downey has a, I'm just going to say that I've actually been to that little airport in Downey, and that little runway, I don't think I'd want to land, 182 or anything on it. But I think with a little work, it could still be, Coeur d'Alene's was like that at one point, so, and they're doing amazing.
Well, I was in Coeur d'Alene this last week, and the clerk from Power County was talking about her airport, which is in Power
It's in
County.
Power County.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
And City of Pocatello County.
On the nuclear stuff, previously we'd heard that it was like 10-plus years out for maybe those modular reactors or some things like that. Is that timeframe moving up?
Yeah, they've significantly moved it up. They've cut that time in half as far as, that's why this feasibility study to get people on board, to be able to bring in vendors and have the availability for those types of services is in a much greater need. Because we actually, on our board, we put that off as a main focus, and then they came back to us and said, this is where we're at. So I'm really encouraged by it. And there's administrative, as far as the federal government, the Trump administration is supportive of those. And we all know there's cuts everywhere, so that affects my job greatly every day. I'm not exactly sure where I'm gonna focus, but we're working with it, and it seems to be going well. So we'll see how things iron out.
Cool. Well, any partnership with INL is a good one, so.
Yeah. Any other questions?
And I don't want to be a naysayer, but I wasn't really happy when I heard about the project being in Power County, out by the airport, instead of in Bannock County. And I've been hit with that constantly. Why not in Bannock County?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I have a good answer for that. I do know that this was a city project, and we were looking for city property, and this property is owned by the city.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Well, that's
and
an
not
excuse I give too.
and not unfortunately, because for Power County, we also work with them at the airport, and they've been great. But yeah, obviously, my home is where I'm at, and I serve Bannock County and Pocatello and Chubbuck, and my heart's there. So sometimes I don't get a choice in the big projects. And I think as far as property, managing it, and with the pitfalls of private property, one of the situations I think a lot of people don't understand is when that project was pitched within Bannock County, the private property, we got off a plane and that private property tripled after we had a deal signed, literally within 5 minutes. So we can't go from, say, 25,000 an acre to 176,000 an acre and have a big project over 70 acres work out. And that's unfortunately one of the situations that happen. Going forward, we're a lot smarter about that. So I think we can negotiate pricing in the county with those private owners. That's, pretty protective to be able to do development. So there's lots of projects out there, so we'll keep looking at the ones that are legitimate and keep working on those.
Well, we're headed into BOE, so 175,000 an acre?
176,000.
Just good to know.
Yeah, I mean, this was also, 18 months, 2 years ago. So, I don't know what that would look like now, but that is the situation we were hit with. And for us, that's a big hit because we spent, 18 months doing stuff and working and spending our time and effort and our budget on that. And then 5 minutes it unraveled. And so after that, I was a lot smarter about making sure that we had other things in place ahead of time. And trust me, I've gotten a lot of grief over some of our recent projects too. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of calls. But we have broad shoulders and we need growth, so.
We deal with the same naysayers.
Yeah, it's hard every day to get up and just keep a smile on your face when you're dealing with that, but we all want growth and we want great growth and we want to protect our area for what it is, so it's good.
Pretty good. Anything else?
No, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks,
Glad
Mike.
to work for you. Have a good day.
You too. Chanda?
Good morning, Commissioners. Shanda Crystal, Chief Procurement Officer. I have 3 items before the board today. The first one is a potential signature on a change order with Pro Builders. This is in regards to the ongoing construction project that we have out at the Sheriff's Office for the Tactical Training Center. As we get closer to that project being finished, there were some items that were identified that were either required as we dug into things that we were going to have to do, or things that were made clear due to safety, like the bollards in front of the pipeline, or that we could do things a little differently, a little more financially responsible. And we have deducts on there for the keypads that were on the last change order. They were able to switch some things around and do things just a little bit different, and we were able to save some money there. These items are for your review. They've been through the Sheriff's Office. They would like to recommend a signature on the change order number 3 with Pro Builders for a combined amount of $17,247.
So through all this, communication with accounting also, as we identify funds and before anything's approved.
We talked about that last week.
Yes.
Okay,
And
thank
so
you.
For this, we could either use, again, generator funds. There's $66,000 that was approved this morning at the 1:30, which leaves $64,000, or if we want to keep it within the realm of how we're paying for ARPA projects right now, we could use bill funds.
I want to charge the sheriff for it, so take it out of the generator project.
He's fine with that. He offered it, in fact.
Yeah.
He did. I had a conversation with him, and I just wanted to make sure how we're paying for stuff is transparent. The conversation I had first with him, it didn't seem like it was very transparent the way it come about. So, as long as it's transparent and where we're identifying the funds and I would just send the Sheriff's Office, if we've identified funds through them, that they pay for it.
Okay.
I'll let Teresa know.
The only thing that scares me, keep diving into that generator, as you were saying, we really haven't got it yet. Is there some other expenses that could arise that we're not aware of? That's the only thing that scares me, is that uncertainty of until it comes in. I mean, I'm okay with doing that, I guess. How uncertain is any of those future?
They've already
Cost.
added a couple contingency amounts,
Okay,
which is, and also we rounded up instead of down.
okay.
To the nearest 10,000, not even to the nearest 1,000. So
That's a good rounding.
Sounds like an accountant to me.
we feel like we're
Okay.
going to be secure in those dollar amounts.
And that's my only question, is just to make sure we don't rob from Peter and then come back and ask Paul for some more
We'll
money.
just have
So,
to balance how this invoice or this piece comes in. I don't know if we split the final payment that the Pro Builders gives us, or if they're going to build this part separate. I think, don't they usually tend to just give us progress bills? So that could
And they'll
potentially
roll it in.
complicate the coding and working of this, but we would have the same issue if we used bill, so.
okay. Yeah, I'm okay with it. So,
So we might just have to coordinate that.
Okay, on that final one, we'll watch it. Okay, okay.
Then I would move that we approve change order number 3 as discussed. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 The second item I have before the board is the potential approval of an invoice for the ADA door mechanical repairs downstairs at the 6th Street entrance. When we first completed that process, we thought there was a bad motor on the ADA door to open it once you hit the button. And we thought we just got a bad one, right, and great, let's get it replaced and be done. So we did that, and within a couple of weeks, we had burned through the second one. So then we went back to the drawing board and we got our suppliers, the architect, and our facilities director all in the same place to have a discussion about how best to move forward. After they reviewed everything, they would recommend a higher quality ADA operator that has additional adjustment options in it. That is what is in before the board today as part of that proposal. They would recommend approval for Precision Glass to replace that door operator in the amount of $5,100.
And this one we could charge either to Pilt or maintenance could pay the bill.
I'd just assume maintenance paid the bill to start with. We keep talking Pilt and that, but that's a carryover. I mean, that's something.
We're only down, I need to do an update to the board on ARPA, but unfortunately next week with budget, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that, so it'll probably be the following week. We're down, I think, about $240,000 in unobligated.
Good.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Ernie and Kevin.
Me
on
too.
that. So I'd move that we approve the proposal for the ADA operator and have it come from maintenance budget. All in favor, say aye.
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 The last item I have before the board is a procurement update. I wanted to start with something that's not on the dashboard, and that's the YDC Event Center. We had a meeting last week and got some update on the construction, and I just wanted to pass that along to the board. Last week, we were able to do the rough-ins for the electrical, the plumbing, and the HVAC, and the roof is almost complete as well. Last week, we were able to do the interior door frames were installed, and the exterior windows and door frames were installed as well. And then this week, we are scheduled for masonry, building insulation, and lap siding. So we are moving along. If you've seen pictures, if you'd like a site visit, Dan would be happy to walk you through. If you just give them a call, they would love to.
Projected finish still.
That, I just received their May invoice. They are still holding at October 20.
Wow.
So internally discussing, we have adjusted that to November. But their newest bill I got yesterday is still holding. So they seem to be on track and dealing with issues just as quickly as possible. So it seems to be moving.
I have my heated vest ready to go for November.
You don't want a repeat of
Jeez, that
the...
was close.
It was cold.
When we shoveled that
It's an
dirt, that was
adventure.
so cold.
Yeah, but the good thing about that was everybody was short.
Yeah, it was. Moving
Yeah.
right along.
Yeah, got in and
Sounds
out.
good.
Another item I'd like to touch base with is the road and bridge roof. After internal review, those services are estimated to be less than the $50,000 to go out to bid for those services. So I have reached out for some estimates. I received one. We are refining that estimate before it comes back to the board for contract. But we are hoping that that is back before the board next week on that project. The landfill has also, as they came before you guys last week to discuss their moving forward with their remodeling of the weigh station. They run all the documents, which is nice, but the official process runs through the board. And so we'll start that. We've talked about last time when we did it with the landfill, we allowed them to do it outside of Bonfire. This year we're pulling them in. So we'll have everybody complete and in to the same place at the same time. Stephanie with the engineering company was very workable with us, and so we'll have a schedule and those documents ready. We are hoping, we need to get it through legal, but they haven't quite fine-tuned those last bits of subcontractors that they were looking for. But as they do that, then it will get submitted for legal, but we're hoping within the next 2 weeks, at least by the end of the month, that we'll go live with that construction project. And the last one is a way more general lessons learned. It's mentioned a couple times today about the different projects that we've been through over the last little bit, and we have definitely experienced some growing pains, but I fully intend on learning from those and not repeating them again. So in that vein, I've started a document simply called Lessons Learned on various large construction projects. I started with Dan and myself, different things, process, procedure, permits, anything like that we can think of that popped up, and kind of a why we thought those happened in that project. And then we're going to fan it out larger to departments, to auditing, to legal, to have everybody look and review from their side, from their piece of that puzzle, things that Bannock County can learn from and do better, especially as we go into the road and bridge, however that project works out down there. We want to make sure we capitalize on those things that we have learned from this and do it better, easier, faster, more efficient the next go around. So we've started that document and plan to have a report back to the board, depending on people's schedules, but July-ish.
Very good.
Shanda and I have talked quite a bit about having a joint meeting with everybody that participated in all these projects and go over lessons learned, what happened, what's going on and stuff. And honestly, before we start our project out there with the coroner and road and bridge and stuff, I want to have this meeting first. And so that, and then we need to talk to Dan. Dan needs to have some time off. He's going to get through that project down there at Downey, and he's got to have some time off. So I'm not in a big hurry before spring to start that project out there. We can start maybe the engineering and that kind of stuff on it, but breaking ground and putting Dan right in the middle of another thing before we finish these other couple of projects and the chambers, that's where I'm at with that too. He's got to have some time off.
Yeah.
Speaking of engineering in regards to that project, that is one thing we had learned. All of our construction projects to date, we've gone out to bid for architectural services and construction before we've done that geo-testing. This one, we have the opportunity and potentially the time frame to put that on its head, get the geo-testing and understand what that soil is, and then have that information for the architects, for the contractors, and set them on a way better path than we have been able to do before. So that is one of the things that I would recommend the board, if that project moves forward, is to start with that geo-testing and get that information back to us so we're on a much better platform as far as what we're asking from those design teams and those contractors.
Yeah, I think that makes good sense to do that. And I agree with Commissioner Moser. There's no sense rushing into that other project until early next year. So if we can talk about it budget time and get that stuff set up and everything else, I'm good with that time frame.
Time to come up for air.
Yep.
Could I reach out to Hal Jensen and get an estimate or proposal for that geo-testing back before the board?
I think so.
Okay. I will move down that path then and work on those lessons learned just as quickly as we can and get them back before the board for a larger discussion.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Christie.
What?
Oh.
She's still there.
Yes.
Present.
Sorry, instead of what, yes.
Yeah, present would have worked. For some reason, I was thinking it was you that put the request in to talk about the memorial fund.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
So we do not have a budget meeting set for how we're going to spend the county memorial funds, Veterans Memorial Funds. This was just going to be the opportunity so that we knew how you would like to move forward.
And right now, we expend them funds at the Bannock County Memorial Building, correct?
Yes.
And I've had a conversation with John. After the situation that happened this last year with the building and us giving them, don't go with this, do this and do that, giving them instructions. And they went against what we said and ended up spending a lot of money. Well, we've invested, what?
I don't have those numbers.
It's a very large number.
I know that we've
It's a
invested
huge
over
number.
$500,000 in the last couple of years.
We did a handful of ARPA projects as well as annual maintenance.
I was thinking 750 is about where we're at.
And it's right under 800,000, but I was being generous.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we need to do that. I think that facility has the ability to make some money and take care of their own bills, and especially if they won't listen to us. I mean, so I would say that for them funds that we look at another site and spend our memorial funds in that direction. We need to bring them in. They haven't met before us. Says what they was even asking or anything for the year or what their budget is, but I think it's a discussion that we need to have with them and with us and decide is there a site that we want to help otherwise? I mean, we got 2 other veterans memorial buildings in the county that come to us, and we give funds to Downey and we give funds to Lava, but we spend a lot more over here, and it just really bothered me that they kind of just pushed us to the back burner and says, we'll do what we want, and then expect us, honestly, the first time to foot the bill. So,
I'm kind of with Commissioner Moser on this one. I'm a little upset about that. And I would really like to maybe help out some of the Gold Star Memorial. And I mean, I go out to the Field of Heroes and love that every year and respect that. And I think the Gold Star Memorial is another ongoing portion of that Field of Heroes that I would be very happy to support something like that. What are your thoughts?
I'm undereducated, just because of, and is there something that we could do even at the cemeteries? I mean, they have that building out there in the city of Pocatello, that has that building. What are the other choices for helping memorialize veterans? I'd love to see some options and say, like you say, well, I know there's money that's been spent in there, but is there somebody else gone without that maybe needs to be refreshed? I don't know. I think we need to look at some
We
information.
probably need to review the statute and confirm off memory, the monies that we have given veterans was only for the building. So I'm not sure we could do something for cemeteries.
I don't know, and I don't know who owns
Like I
that
said,
building.
I would need to double check
Yeah.
the statute or legal.
The statute says a memorial to be erected in the county, so
Okay.
whatever is an erected memorial.
Okay.
So I would think, I don't know if a cemetery would work unless you put up a dedicated memorial in a cemetery for.
well, that's where Gold Star,
Yeah.
that's what it is, 100%.
And who owns or maintains?
We'd have to do research on that.
I don't know.
So if somebody from.
But those are both nice sites.
What's that?
Out there at Ross Park and then up on North Gate, both of those.
Yeah.
And honestly, we could do both. Participate in the maintenance, and, I mean, that's what we do, is we pay for maintenance, we pay for power, we pay for insurance, and all those kinds of things.
Okay.
So the board
It's down across from.
I mean, with a little help,
on that,
that
or
could,
maybe
it's
the next-
nice. There's a lot of people.
Couple
trees
weeks,
in there.
then
Yeah,
work
More
plan.
nicer.
I'm okay with that too. I just think we need to explore the options rather than just go down the same road we've always been going down and not getting.
Well, I'll investigate that a little more, about where we could go and stuff. Like I said, I talked to John, and John says, all you gotta do is not budget it. It's for them, I mean, put it somewhere else.
But that would be a good site up there in Northgate where they got that little thing down through there.
That's very pretty. You haven't been there?
I haven't been down to it, but I've
It's
seen
great.
it from a
But
distance.
it needs a little help.
It does. It does. It
And
does.
maybe by us helping that would encourage the community to become more aware of it as well too. So,
We have a tentative budget recap meeting scheduled for the 24th, I believe. So maybe next week we'll do budget meetings, maybe during that recap, if the board can have a decision by then. Otherwise, we could talk about it during commission departments.
Okay.
If you have that information by then, and then the clerk will have a direction as we work on.
I'll investigate some things here in the next little bit, in the next few days, and
and I know there's gonna be some pushback, say, well, that's not the way we've been doing it for all these years and everything else, but there always will be.
Well,
And there's,
well, I talked to the commissioners from Jefferson County when we was up there, and I says, how many nonprofits do you guys give money to? Very little. And we're at $300,000, basically. And nobody else in the state does that.
and this budget is, for veterans right now is $67,900. So if we were to contribute to those other facilities and possibly not need that much money, that could free up some tax dollars that we could potentially use somewhere else.
amen.
So,
Well, there's always a need somewhere else.
okay,
Okay, we have a
Sorry.
direction. No, that's good.
didn't realize I was,
No, I'd forgot.
I did ask Christie to put it on.
Yeah, yeah. All right, we have, the next thing is the discussion for me to sign the closing documents for Lander. Jason, you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, so let me, out of an overabundance of caution, I would like to give a little brief history that will be in the minutes, and then there is a resolution that the commissioners will sign today for the sale of the property at Lander. So there's been some question about some procedural issues and things, and I've talked with legal. We've done everything correctly. There have been meetings over the last year or so, especially, that have been very serious. Some of those have been done in executive session. The reason that those were done in executive session was the commissioners were setting basically a base amount of what we would sell that property for when it was sent to auction. The auction company wanted a starting amount. So that number was done in executive session so that it wasn't just out there to the public what we would sell it for, just like any typical seller. Then we had on April, we listed it last fall. We had a tenant in there, so we didn't want to auction it off during that time. This spring, we redid the paperwork, and on April 1st, the commission approved for the commission chair to sign those listing documents with the auction company. It was then auctioned, and then now the title company then requested that there be a resolution from the commissioners authorizing the chair to sign the closing documents at the title company. So, so that is what we're going to do today, and kind of a little bit of the history of why.
The resolution would be needed to sell or dispose of property anyway, so
Right.
that works out great.
Yeah. So anyway,
And again, in full disclosure, they did ask me to sign an extension to give us the time, because the original close date was prior to today.
right.
And so we had to do that so we can take care of this and then
Right.
go to the official closing.
So we ended up selling the property for more than what our base amount was, but $275 is what we'll get. Is that what you're looking at me for? Yeah.
Because I haven't heard any of this.
Yeah, it's $275.
What's the sale price?
Yeah. It minus fees and things.
Okay.
The title company, the auction company took their fees, but we are going to net $275.
So what's the sale date?
It will be,
I don't remember what it was.
what did they extend it to? Yeah, it's within, I'll let you know exactly when the title company schedules it.
To remove it from insurance,
Mhm.
and then someone will need to adjust the utilities.
Yeah.
Just so that's-
Dan's already on the utilities,
Okay, perfect.
so.
Okay, just let me know when I need to remove it from insurance.
I think it's time for another party. We got rid of that Lander.
Get rid of that building. So,
Taking forever to do.
So you need the check, right? The
Yeah.
check needs to come with that.
yeah.
Do you want that made out to Christy Klauser? Or-
Heck, no.
That's what you said, send me the check, so I just make sure I
That's my
spelled it.
office.
Oh, okay.
You missed that part.
Any other questions on that, or did I miss any finer points on that? I just wanted to be very clear that we followed the correct procedures and why we're doing what we're doing. It has been deemed excess property.
Very good.
I would make a motion that we approve the chair to sign Lander building sales. Oh, it's all of us, huh?
That's
That's a resolution.
Yeah, so might as well do the
So-
resolution and
And
that.
then resolution number
2025-40.
2025-40, the selling of the Lander properties.
Any further discussion? Nope. Okay, we have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
My only question is, where do those funds go?
General fund,
General
Sullivan
fund.
County property
Back
must
in
go
the-
to the general fund.
All right, we have a trespass notice for Nicholas Leroy Goodwin. This was asked for by the security department here. Any questions on that?
No, no.
What? No, there's
This is
another
a
one.
new one, and then we got another one.
Yeah, there's two today.
Okay.
So,
This is one that the court marshal said
yeah, the court marshals, thank you,
that there was concerns with threats,
towards the
and they
judge.
had requested.
Some other things, so. Any further discussion on this one?
I'd make a motion, we go ahead and
Do we
have
need
the
to say the, yeah, we said the name.
chair
Okay.
sign this trespass notice.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We have the next is the request to dispose of assets from the University of Idaho Extension Center, and those assets look like they have seen better days.
They need to go to the landfill.
Yes. Yes. So I'll move that we approve the
You don't want them?
disposal of assets from the Ag Extension Office. All in favor, say aye.
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 That's just you or us.
That's all of us, I thought.
Yeah, right.
All right, now we have resolutions. We have Resolution 2025-35 approving May 2025 salaries. Resolution 36 approving May 2025 alcohol licenses. Resolution 37 designating county roads for state reimbursement. Resolution 38 vacation of portions of Aubrey Drive and Burton Drive in the Sunnygate Park subdivision. And Resolution 39 vacation easement in the Chilton subdivision. We've talked about that in previous meetings. Is there any further discussion on any of those resolutions?
No.
I'll make the motion, we sign all of those resolutions as numbered.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next in line, we have a public hearing notice for zoning ordinance map amendment and rezone. This is just the notification for that, and there's two of them, and the zoning ordinance text amendment. So we have a map amendment and a text amendment, and again, these are just the public notifications on those. I move that we approve the public notices on those two. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next is juvenile detention with an extension for the food service contract. Any discussion on that contract?
No.
They still getting that through the
Jail.
jail, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just through the, so they just contract with the same people. So
Yep.
I'll make a motion, we go ahead and approve that contract.
Okay, we have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next is Teresa Argyle from the Sheriff's Office, their 2025 Service Operation Plan modification, which is an increase in funding. This is an annual contract that we have. Any other questions?
That's with the Forest Service.
That is with the Forest Service, yes.
No questions. I make a motion, we go ahead and approve the grant with the Forest Service with the Sheriff's Office.
Okay, we have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next is, oh, this was a good one, the agreement to provide law enforcement at the KOA campground in Lava Hot Springs for 2 days. Evidently, there's a group that is having an event up there, and in the past, the group has gotten a little rowdy, so the KOA is asking for some sheriff's assistance with that. As to
What kind of group requires more law enforcement?
They're in lava.
Utah.
It's a family reunion.
And they are paying the rate of $63 an hour. so-
Hatfields and the McCoys.
Any issues with that?
I'd go ahead and make a motion that we sign let the sheriff's office have this agreement with KOA Campground for the 2 days. That's what I looked at, 2 days?
Yeah.
Do they have a liquor license?
All right, the next is with the landfill. This is for the waiving of fees for the demolition of the Pine Ridge Mall, which I drove by there last night, and it's one of those bittersweet things.
Yeah.
It's exciting, but at the same time, it's...
Not if you've walked inside it. It's
No.
good to see it.
That's
being
true.
torn down.
That's true. So we agreed to waive $200,000 in landfill fees towards the demolition of the Pine Ridge Mall, and as we can see, that has begun. So any further discussion, I will entertain a motion on that.
I'd go ahead and make the motion that we sign this memo with the 200,000 fee for the landfill being taken away.
Okay. We have a motion. Any further discussion?
I thought we'd already done that, though.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
You did waive the fees, but we wanted a written document for Aubrey
For tracking.
to have it for tracking, and we also included the potential of, Mayor England said we could potentially recoup some of those dollars when that urban closes.
Correct.
So we included that language in there as well, so that that was well shared and
Good job.
The next thing that we're signing is with Dex Imaging, which is the discontinuation of contract due to state assumption of indigent defense funding. So they're taking back the copiers. We have two of them, a P120-1277, which is leased, and the serial numbers are here. So we are ending that. Any questions or concerns on that?
No.
Then I would move that we assign the memorandum discontinuing the contract of sale as in the packet.
Yeah, I'll make that motion that we discontinue that contract with Dex Imaging.
Have a motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Moving right along.
I'm gonna have to get another pen.
We have an event center contract that we are ratifying. We had talked about this prior to the event, and then due to us being gone last week, they had the event, but they did get the liquor license and the alcohol sales. That was a Rumors Make-A-Wish fundraiser that they had up there. So Scott and the group up there handled the liquor sales as we requested, and so we are just ratifying this amended contract since the event was done while we were out of town. Any other questions or concerns on that?
Did they raise any money?
I did not hear. I know they were busy up there for the last weekend.
It would be on.
They're still busy.
It
Yeah.
would be.
High School Rodeo is going on right now.
But like these fundraisers, it'd be interesting to have them give us some sort of report to let us know, okay, we're doing this for you, or you waived your fees for doing all that. Did you make money and where are you going with it? I mean, we do waive those fees.
Yeah, it's good.
I don't know.
This was the
That's something
Make-A-Wish.
something in the future you might want to, okay, nice to see some sort of a report that by us waiving your fees, did you make any money and what'd you do with it?
We'll reach out and find out.
So,
It's good.
I mean, I think that's good,
Fair request.
yeah.
Okay. Take a motion to ratify that.
I'll make a motion, we go ahead and ratify the contract for, was it Rumors?
Make-A-Wish. yeah.
Rumors, Make-A-Wish?
Yep. Have a motion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. And then we have some for the Lava Ranch Fuels Reduction Project. We have some permission to enter properties to sign for the participants out there. They just require the chair signature, so I need a motion to authorize chair signature on the Lava Ranch land use agreements.
So moved.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
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 Getting long in the meeting, so.
Yeah. All right, we have a second trespass notice for Nikki Jo Taysom. We've had some issues there and been requested to have that trespass, so any further discussion on that?
This is an extension of the trust.
Yes, that's right,
should be
this is an
noted.
extension. This is an extension again for 1 year.
So,
I'll make the motion that we go ahead and sign that extension.
Okay, we have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
aye.
And with that, we are to the consent agenda, which contains manual checks, alcohol licenses, a certificate of residency, salary rate approval, and minutes from the May 27th meeting. Any questions on any of that stuff?
I didn't have any
Invoices.
Oh, and invoices, sorry. Yep.
With that, I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion for the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And as soon as we're done signing, we will be adjourned.